Hey guys, and we are getting a Kirby Air Riders Direct, and I am incredibly excited since this is my most anticipated game. Honestly, Kirby Air Riders is one of my dream games, up there with Mario & Luigi Brothership and Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door. This is a game that I did not expect to happen, but I am so glad that it is. I am so glad that Sakurai is directing it, and this presentation will also be hosted by Sakurai, kind of like the Sakurai Presents presentations for Smash Ultimate. So this is going to be really exciting. It's going to be 45 minutes long as well, so I know that Sakurai has been cooking up something good here. This has likely been in development since 2022. I think that's what Sakurai said on his YouTube channel, Sakurai on Creating Games. So I'm really excited to see what is in this game, and I wanted to do a prediction video, kind of going over some things that I think will happen, and also some things that I hope to see in the game as well. And this video did make my previous video immediately outdated, since I was kind of going on about how this game didn't have a release date yet, along with other games, but I don't really care too much. I'm just incredibly excited to see more of Kirby Air Riders. But let's go ahead and get into my predictions. So starting off, I'll go with some general broad predictions. I actually think the game will use more than one button. I know the original game was kind of centered around the one button control scheme, but I do feel like it might be a little more complex. Still very simple. I would say it might only use just like a couple buttons, but I do think they'll make it like a little easier to learn, I would say, because the one-button control scheme, while it is very simple, it is very hard to master at the same time. So I think there will probably be the option to choose between one button and multiple buttons, since Sakurai does like to include options in a lot of games, so I feel like there will probably be that option there. And I think gliding will also be improved as well, because I think that was kind of a flawed aspect of the controls slash physics of the original game, so I feel like that will definitely be improved. I feel like the controls overall will feel much more refined now that this game will have much more development time than the original. The original was only developed in like a few months, so we're going from a few months to a few years. So I definitely think some things will be ironed out in this sequel. And I think it will also natively support the GameCube controller like Smash. I know that's a very random thing to say, but I think like the kind of go off of like the nostalgia of the original, I think they'll probably have GameCube support. They might even re-release the GameCube controller adapter specifically for this game, and they might also market the Nintendo Switch Online GameCube controller for this game as well. Even though Nintendo doesn't really like to do that with their Switch Online controllers, they might make an exception here, just due to the fact that the GameCube controller probably will sell if it does have compatibility with this game. They might even do like a Kirby Air Riders edition of the GameCube controller. That would be really cool. Kind of unlikely, but I do think there will be GameCube controller support here. And I think it will acknowledge modern Kirby in the Dark Matter trilogy. I know that a lot of people think that Sakurai hates modern Kirby and has some kind of grudge against modern Kirby, but I think that's a misconception. Sakurai said he respects what HAL has been doing with Kirby since he left HAL. And he also included representation for modern Kirby in Smash Ultimate, like with Kirby's Final Smash representing Return to Dreamland, and DDD's Final Smash being Masked DDD. So those are things like post-Sakurai Kirby elements. So I don't think Sakurai is going to completely ignore modern Kirby, or even the Dark Matter trilogy as well. What I think we'll see is kind of an adapted version of those modern Kirby things, like maybe exaggerated versions of the modern Kirby characters, in a similar vein to how a lot of core Nintendo characters have been represented in Smash since Melee, like a lot of those really kind of wacky and interesting designs. Like, I think they'll go all out with some of these characters like Magolor and everything. I think it would be really cool to see like how Sakurai will portray these characters, because I do think we will see these characters, but in a slightly different form than how we're used to. So I'm pretty excited if that is the case. And with the soundtrack, I definitely think we'll get a pretty banger soundtrack here, since the original soundtrack is absolutely incredible. It was composed by Shogo Sakai, the composer of Mother 3, and I really want to hear more of that style here. Like, it would just be incredible if they had Shogo Sakai return. I think there's definitely a good possibility that he'll return, since the music in the original trailer sounded a lot like his work. And Shogo Sakai has also composed a lot of music for Smash as well, so I definitely think he'll return for this. We might even see more composers as well, since Sakurai does have a lot of connections with composers like through Smash. And another thing is that this will very likely have online connectivity. I think it would really be weird if it didn't. So this is likely going to have online. Hopefully it's good online. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's not like Smash's online. Hopefully Sakurai and Sora and Bandai Namco have learned since then to kind of implement better online in those games. So hopefully it's actually good this time. And I think it would also be cool if we had game share as well. So like some like connectivity like that. And then one final general prediction is that I think we'll get amiibo figures for this game, because this is the same developers as Smash, obviously, and like Smash is what introduced amiibo. So I think it is very likely that we may see at least one or even multiple amiibo figures for this game. I'm kind of predicting that they're going to be based on the different machines. Maybe they'll have like different Kirby colors on the different air ride machines, like maybe one of the Wagon Star, Warp Star, Wheelie Bike, and Wing Star, like from the trailer. I definitely think we'll see like a few amiibo figures release. I'm guessing maybe 3 or 4. There might even be more at launch. But like, since amiibo is so heavily connected to Sakurai's recent games, I think we'll probably see them here. And in terms of modes, I think all of the original modes will be returning: Air Ride, Top Ride, and City Trial. And for Air Ride, I think there will be significantly more courses. I'm thinking at the very least 27 total, 3 times the original. And I think there will also be remakes of the original courses. I think that would just make a lot of sense, kind of going off of Smash Ultimate, how that kind of like remade a lot of things from the older Smash games. I think they'll probably remake most of the original Air Ride content in this game. And they might even have like a Grand Prix mode as well, where you play like maybe like 3 of these courses in like one cup. I'm thinking they might do something like that as well. So I'm hoping there are a decent amount of courses here. I mean, there doesn't have to be a million of them, because like these courses are fairly big, and there are a lot of like secret paths and in the original. So I do think like at the very least 27 should be fine, because like I said, they are big. There are also other modes as well. So I think that is something to keep in mind. And Air Ride, for a lot of fans, isn't even the main mode in Kirby Air Ride, so which kind of ironic, but I do want to see a decent amount of content here. And I also want to see like some courses based on various locations from throughout the series, like Halcondra, Fountain of Dreams, Ripple Star, Lab Discovera, stuff like that. Maybe even some new original courses, maybe kind of balance it out with courses from the original game, completely new ideas for courses, and then courses based on existing Kirby games. I think that would be pretty nice. And I think just the general formula should be improved as well. So I do think there's a lot of potential for Air Ride. Top Ride, I don't think this mode should receive that much attention, but it might be kind of treated like a secondary thing, like a side mode, like how Smash usually has those like little side modes like home run contest or like break the targets, stuff like that. I think Top Ride will kind of be treated in a similar vein to that, where it's not like a super big mode, but it will still have some stuff to do. Maybe you unlock some collectibles with it. And that's another thing that I forgot to mention with general predictions. I do think there will be like collectibles, like trophies or things. I know Ultimate got rid of the trophies, but we might see like something kind of similar to that here. I mean, a lot of the modern Kirby games had collectibles in that vein. Most of the Smash games have collectibles similarly to that. So I think it is definitely fair to expect Kirby Air Riders to have a lot of collectibles. So, moving on into what most people consider the main mode in Kirby Air Ride, City Trial, definitely the most popular mode. I think this will be a big focus of this game to differentiate this game from Mario Kart, and it's also because it's the most popular mode as well. And I actually think City Trial should get multiple maps, maybe 4 in total, to kind of add some variety and also more replayability. Some people are saying that, like, they should still stick to one map, but make the map, like, significantly bigger, like 4 times the size of the original. But I do think, like, multiple City Trial maps, like, each, like, maybe a little bigger than the original map, would be nice. I think it would definitely kind of lean in to, like, that support for City Trial, since it's a very popular mode. I think it would make sense to have a lot of variety there. So I think we'll get a remake of the original, 2 existing Kirby locations, like one classic, one modern, like maybe a classic Dreamland location, or a modern one, like based on Forgotten Land. I would love to see a Forgotten Land themed map based on the natural plains, like in that city area. That would just be incredible. Just like, I've been wanting that for so long. Like just ever since like Kirby and the Forgotten Land was revealed, I was like, oh, that city area would be a nice City Trial map. So I really hope they do something like that. Just at least some focus on City Trial. And I feel like each map could have different events and different elements to interact with. Like there could be like different characters that show up in different events, or they could do quite a lot. So I think there's a lot to pull from, especially if they do ones based on existing locations. And I think it would also be interesting if they tweaked some elements as well, like maybe even adding like a new box type that can grant like any items to make it like a little more mysterious. Maybe new legendary machines, like new upgrades and items and copy abilities. Of course, I feel like there would probably be new copy abilities, like since there have been a lot of copy abilities since Kirby Air Ride, so we could see more of those. And maybe even missions in free run, similar to the missions in Mario Kart World, kind of add more to free run, like add like some things to do there. So I definitely think that's possible. And I even think there could be a new mode as well, making use of these City Trial maps. I'm thinking they could do something like a Battle Royale. I know that is relatively kind of cliche to have like a prediction for a Battle Royale in an upcoming Nintendo game, because they usually never do that. But I think it would just work really well in these City Trial maps, or at the very least, an elimination-based battle mode. Kind of like Balloon Battle in the older Mario Kart games, as well as Mario Kart World. But they could take place in the City Trial maps, and there would be like a prep time to get machines, abilities, copy abilities, and upgrades. But it would take place all within the City Trial maps, like the battles would happen like entirely within them. And of course, like I said, it would be elimination based. And maybe even like the Battle Royale games, it could kind of condense you into a smaller area. They could do something like that. I think that would be pretty cool. But they could do something else with that as well. And finally, I think they could also do a story mode as well. Not anything too crazy. I think it will be somewhere in between Subspace Emissary and World of Light in terms of spectacle, so not too crazy, but also not necessarily boring. And while Sakurai is still disappointed about the Subspace cutscenes leaking, I feel like he could have taken the World of Light criticism into consideration, so we may see a story mode that is a little more interesting. It may have some cutscenes, but is not as bombastic and has as much spectacle as Subspace Emissary. I'm thinking somewhere in the middle. It could basically cycle between like the different modes. It could have like different boss fights that you could also encounter in City Trial, and it could also be how you unlock characters, courses, or even machines. I think that would be pretty cool if they did something like that. Like, since a lot of recent Sakurai games had like some sort of campaign, I do think it would be cool if we saw something like that in Kirby Air Riders. And then finally, I think we could also see new playable characters and machines. All the original machines will probably return, but I think there could also be some new ones, either completely original ideas or ones based on existing Kirby games, like things like the Lore Star Cutter, or based on things like from Planet Robobot. I think that would be really cool. So I'm definitely expecting to see new machines here, maybe even like a lot of them with pretty interesting gimmicks as well. And with the characters, since this game is called Air Riders, plural, I think that could mean there could be multiple playable characters in the game, but at the same time, I won't be too disappointed if they aren't in the game, because copy abilities are still there as well. And the machines also kind of function like different characters. But if there are multiple playable characters, I feel like they could get weapons or items in place of the copy abilities, which would have different uses than Kirby's copy abilities to kind of add incentive to playing as those characters. I'm predicting we'll see characters like DDD, Meta Knight, Bandana D, Marks, Gooey, the Animal Friends, Adeline and Ribbon, DeRoach, Magalore, Taranza, Susie, the Mage Sisters, and Elflin as playable characters. Maybe even some of the enemies will be playable as well. And I am expecting modern Kirby characters for the same reason that I mentioned before about, like, Sakurai not necessarily having a grudge against modern Kirby. I actually think it is fairly likely that we will see, like, some sort of, like, modern representation here. I think, like, at the very least, Magalore or Elflin will appear here. I definitely think that's possible. But anyways, those are my predictions for Kirby Air Riders. I am incredibly excited for tomorrow, and I can't wait to see what Sakurai has been cooking. But anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Blue Sky if you want to. Stay perky!